Hi guys, I'm Kasha. Welcome to the channel and welcome as always to our coffee times. Today I'm bringing you a kind of a different video because I am going to organize my TBR card. I do own two different cards for books. One is for the books that I'm currently reading and new book purchases, and then I have one dedicated only to books that I want to read that year. So throughout the last couple of years, a lot of books have made their way into the TBR card and I have never read them. So we're gonna start fresh 2021. I am still gonna leave a couple of books that I previously had on the card still in there because I still do want to read them in 2021, but I have developed now a system in order to make my reading as mixed as possible.
It's coffee time.
When I started BookTube, I started discovering so many YA books that I have never even heard of. A lot of fantasy, a lot of like sci-fi contemporary, a lot of different things, and I just wanted to read it all. I think it's something really common that happens when you start a BookTube channel, and so I read a lot of things that were not horror, and this year I have read more horror because I was missing it a lot. However, this year I have barely read anything from those YA books that I still own that are fantasy or contemporary, and so next year I really want to find a system in order to read a little bit of everything, even though my TBRs are going to be predominantly horror, but at least I want to make sure that I'm reading a little bit from this and that. Also, I feel like my ebooks that I have purchased have been accumulating and I never get to them because I always forget which ones I have. So I'm also coming up with a system for that. Yeah, so we're gonna be checking out the system and which books are already going to make their way into my TBR card. Before we go to the actual TBR card organization, if you love books, if you love horror, and you like what you see, please consider subscribing to the channel and also hit the notification bell so you don't miss any more coffee times. So the system that I have developed for my reading goals for 2021 is the following. I have created a document for myself in which I'm going to input the books that I'm going to be reading every month as a kind of established TBR, and then I can always add any other books that I want to. I can switch things around. It's not like it's set in stone, but at least I have an idea of the things that I'm going to be reading, making sure to hit as many categories as possible. So I have created for myself 9 categories and we're going to go through those categories, and I'm going to be showing you the books that I'm already going to add to our TBR card. Now, because I don't want to overload the cart and I also want to allow myself a little bit of flexibility, I'm only going to put in there 6 books per category, and then when half the year comes around, then I can recheck and add the next 6 books for those categories. So at least we don't have a super packed TBR card and I don't feel too overwhelmed with it. So here's our TBR card, currently empty, so that we can fill it with all of our wishes and dreams for 2021. So the first category is actually new book releases, and obviously I still do not own any of the new releases for 2021, so these are books that I'm going to be adding to the TBR card as I purchase them next year, so I still don't have any to show you for this category. The second category is non-horror books, and I created this category because I do own a lot of books in physical form that I have not read yet and that are non-horror, and I don't think I really got to any of them this year, and I still need to read them and decide if I want to keep them or not. There is a reason why I picked them. And so in order to try to go through some of those at least, I have selected 6. The first one is Turtles All the Way Down by John Green. I picked this book when it came out actually, and I was excited to read it. A lot of people were reading it back then and were really enjoying it. and I never read it. So I have read other books by John Green, like Paper Towns and The Fault in Our Stars, and I do enjoy them. They're not like my absolute favorite of all times, but I do enjoy his stories, and so I decided to pick it up. The next one is a book that I remember picking up on a sale, and I have no recollection of what this book is about. So I decided to put it on my TBR and try to get to it, and that is A Sky Painted Gold by Laura Wood. Like I said, I have really no idea. It's something that is based on the 1900s and about a house and a summer in that house. I don't know, but because I picked it up, I think it's from 2018, so I picked it up the year that it came out. But I never read it, so I just want to give it a try, see if I like it or not. Next we have Mr. Penumbra's 24-Hour Bookstore by Robin Sloan. I picked this one up because obviously I love books that take place in bookstores or libraries or that have to do anything at all with books. So I decided to pick it up, and I still have not read it. Next we have The Last Time We Say Goodbye by Cynthia Hand. I picked this one up because I love contemporary stories that deal with grief or loss, and I heard also good things about it. I was really excited to read it, but then it didn't happen, so I really want to get to it. Next I have The Disenchantment by Nina LaCour. I read Hold Still and We Are Okay by the same author, and I really enjoy those stories. And she has such a wonderful way to describe loneliness and grief and loss. Again, it's topics that I like to see. This is also contemporary, and it's a book that I have not read by her, but I do own, so I want to get to it. And the last one in the non-horror category is Warcross by Marie Lu. One of my absolute favorite books is Ready Player One, and I picked this one up because I know it has to do with a video game, and I love gaming combined with books or combined with other genres. Let it be fantasy, sci-fi, horror, whatever it is. I just love reading about gamers and gaming and games, and so I decided to pick it up. I only picked up the first book to see if I enjoy it because I really heard mixed reviews about it, so I really want to get to it next year. The next category that I created is book series. So this was created thinking on me finally finishing some series or trilogies that I have open, or maybe start new ones that I have been meaning to start. So for this category I have also made 6 choices of books that I currently own in physical form. The first 2 are Supernaturally and Endlessly by Kristen White. I read the first book on this trilogy and I thought it was okay. I enjoyed it, but it was not like something that blew me away. I think it was too YA tropey for me, and it's kind of like, I think I would have liked this book when I was younger, and so I just want to finish the trilogy since I do own all the books. I just want to finish it, reading it, and then I can unhold the books, but I would like to finish it. Next we have Lair of Dreams by Libba Bray. So I finally read The Diviners and I really enjoyed it. I immediately picked up the second book and I never read it. So it's been just standing there staring at me, chunky book, me feeling afraid of the book. So I really want to continue this series, see if I like the second book as much as I enjoyed the first one. So it has to happen in 2021. The next one is Immunity, and this is by Erin Bowman. The first book is called Contagion, and I enjoyed this because this is YA sci-fi combined with horror. And I don't know, I really had a good time with the first book, and so I decided to pick up the second one, and I have to get to it. Next we have Ransacker, and this is the second book after Berserker. I really enjoyed the first book because this is a new take on the typical story of kids with superpowers. I just thought it was so believable, so interesting in this kind of Western setting, and it was just different from all of the other books that I have read about, you know, kids with superpowers, and it has a complete different atmosphere, and it was, you know, there was a lot of action, there was a lot of violence, and I really enjoyed the first one, so I picked up the second one, but I still have not read it. And the last one is actually a series that I want to start, and that is The Invisible Library by Genevieve Kochman. I got this one as a present from a friend Kayla, and I have been meaning to read it all year, but it has not happened, so this is going to go to my priority list for 2021. This is a series in which the books are not that chunky, and it sounds like a lot of fun, so I really want to get into it. Moving on to the next category, which is reading one ebook. So every month I want to read one ebook because, like I said, I have been purchasing ebooks and I have them on my PC, but I always forget that I have them and then I never read them. So for this ones, when the month comes around and I am ready to, put up my TBR pile video, I'll just pick one of the ebooks that I own and let you guys know which one I have picked for every month. But I don't have a physical book for this, so there's nothing that I need to add to my TBR card. The next category is based on something that I want to read more of next year, and that is middle grade spooky books. And I sadly do not own many of those, and the ones that I do own I have already read, and so I am currently purchasing a couple through Amazon that hopefully will be soon here. But before they come, I do own one spooky middle grade that I still have not read, and it's the beginning of a series, and that is Dark Side by Tom Becker. I found this one on a secondhand bookstore, and I'm really glad that I picked it up, and I cannot wait to read it, see if I really enjoy the story, because then, I have the next books on the series also to pick up. And this is not spooky, but I do own book 1 and 2 from a middle grade series, and they have been on my shelves for so long that I just feel like I need to finally start this series and see if I enjoy it, and that is The Familiars by Adam J. Epstein and Andrew Jacobson. I picked this one up because obviously it says The Familiars and there are animals, there is a cat, so my mind always goes, to witches and magic and familiars. And it does have to do with magic, it says so in the book, but I never picked it up. I bought it years ago and it's been on my shelves and I do own book 1 and 2, so at least I want to try the first book to see if I enjoy it. And that takes us to the next category, which is to read a YA horror book. I do own quite some YA horror books that I still have not checked out, and I do enjoy reading some YA horror here and there. I know they're not as intense and bloody as I like my horror, but sometimes they're just fun, and so I have picked also 6 for this category. The first one is Bad Girls Don't Die by Katie Allender, and I believe this is a trilogy, so if I finish the first book and I enjoy it, I can always jump to the next ones. The next one is Pitch Dark by Courtney Alameda, and this is science fiction combined with horror, and it sounds so amazing. This also was a present from my friend Kayla, so I really want to get to it, and I really love sci-fi combined with horror when done right, so I just cannot wait to jump into this one. Then I have one that I nearly read this year, but then it didn't happen, and that is The Last Harvest by Kim Liggett. And this book I've heard amazing things about, and I really want to read it, and I think I even put it on my TBR pile a couple of times this year and it didn't happen, so it definitely has to happen in 2021. Next we have Sabrina Season of the Witch, and these are books that are based on the characters of the Netflix show. I've always loved the character of Sabrina. I enjoyed the comics. I enjoyed a lot the Netflix show that it's gonna end actually this year. The last season, the final season, is being released, I believe, on the 31st of December, so something to look forward to. And then I saw that they have these line of books that are connected to the show, and I decided to pick up the first book and see if I enjoy it. These ones are kind of fairly short, so I hope to enjoy it, and then I'll grab also the next ones. And the last one in this category is Frozen Charlotte by Alex Bell, another one that I've been meaning to pick up for the longest time. I believe this is the first book on a series of books that are not connected between each other, but it's like a YA horror series with different stories. Every book is a different story, so if I like this one, I'm definitely gonna pick up the next one. But yeah, I've been meaning to pick this one up for the longest time as well, so it has to happen next year. Then we have another interesting category, which is basically an open kind of category. It's just to pick up a backlist book, so a book that I've had on my shelves for some time, or a book that I have on my shelves and I need to check out. And for this one, we're also going to add 6 more books. A book that I really want to read is The Library of the Unwritten by A.J. Hackwith, and this is based on a library in hell. So need I say more? And it is about unfinished books. So again, I love books about books, plus this one is in hell in a library. Like, is my dream come true. Next we have Brainchild by Andrew Neiderman, another one that I really want to read, so I'm putting it on my pile. The next one is The House by Bentley Little. This one was recommended to me a couple of times. I finally picked it up, so I really want to make this happen next year. Next I have The House on Cold Hill by Peter James. I grabbed this one at a store that has like some books on sale, and I picked it up I don't know how many years ago, and it's been there on my shelf, so I feel like it's time. The next one is Starfish by Akemi Dawn Bowman, and this one again I picked up when it came out. I even picked up the second book from the author because these are contemporary books that have to do with grief and loss, which is something that I normally really love. So I picked them up and I have never read them, so I want to read the first book and see if I enjoy it. And the last one, and one that has a beautiful cover, is Save the Last Dance for Me by Judy Miller. This is a classic horror story, so yeah, another one that I just want to check out next year. Our next category is to read one novella, if possible a horror novella. So for this I also do not currently have any physical novellas that I have not read yet. All the horror novellas that I own I have already read. So my plan with this is to pick up some novellas in ebook or physical form throughout the year and add them to my TBR pile, because I also want to read more novellas. I really find like some of them are so engaging and the story it's just so rich because they are shorter, and it's also great for when you have a reading slump or for when you don't have so much time, so you feel accomplished that you finished the book. So novellas is something that I really wanted to integrate in my TBR piles for next year. And the very last category here is thrillers. I do enjoy myself a good thriller. The problem is most of the times they're not that great, but I still kind of enjoy them. They're kind of my guilty pleasure thing, and so I still own some physical books that are thrillers that I still have not checked. Some of them I've had on my shelves for years, so I really want to get to them, and if they are just one of those basic thrillers that doesn't do it for me, then I can just unhold them and let them go. The first one is The Calling of the Grave by Simon Beckett. I read and really enjoyed The Chemistry of Death, and I picked this one up because it's by the same author, but I never read it. The next book I picked up on a sale and I never read it, and it's just there, and it's a beautiful hardcover, but I don't even know if I'm gonna enjoy it, and that is this chunk of a book here. It is by Joyce Carol Oates, and I'm having trouble to see how to pronounce this book. Carthage? I don't know, but this is the book. And all I know is that it's in a small town, disappearance of a little girl, so your basic kind of thriller, so I'm hoping to enjoy it. Next we have a book by a master of thrillers, Karen Slaughter, and that is Faithless. I picked this one up a long time ago, secondhand, and I still have not read it, so I feel like it's time. Then I have a YA horror thriller, and that is Harrow Lake by Kat Ellis. This did come out this year and I picked it up because it also has something to do with the movie business, and I absolutely love that in books as well. So I planned on reading this in 2020, but it didn't happen, so I am directly putting it onto 2021's TBR pile. Another one that I meant to read when I picked it up, obviously, but then it didn't happen, is Hidden Bodies. This is the continuation of the book You by Caroline Kepnes. I read You just before Netflix released the first season of the show, and my idea was to pick up the second book right away and read it and then watch the second season, but it's been some time since the second season has aired. And I still have not watched it because I still have not read this book, and I'm not sure if the second season spoils this book or not, so I need to get to this because I really want to continue the show, but I have been kind of putting it off until I read this one. Then I have one that I don't even remember picking up, so I don't even know what it's about, but I know it's a thriller, and that is The Girl in the Woods by Greg Olson. I don't know, I'm thinking it's gonna be a basic thriller, but I just want to give it a try before I decide if I unhaul it or not. And the last one is also a 2020 release that I actually have heard really good things about, so I have high hopes for this one, and that is The Sundown Motel by Simone St. James. I know it has to do with like different timelines as well, and I just thought that it sounded so intriguing, and I heard good things about it, so definitely another one that I really want to read next year, because I'm not gonna have time this year, but I'm really interested in this one. So here is the finished product. We have here all the books that I have been talking to you about, and I'm organizing in a way you can always see the spines from the side, so you know exactly which book you need to grab. So here is the rest. So we have more space, as you can see, to add more. And I always have here this little cushion in case I need it for more comfy reading somewhere in the house. And then I have here this little pouch with some like bookish kind of merch. And here on the corner I have this V-Schwab kind of pouch. And I have here all of my sticky notes and things that I use for annotating or for tabbing my books. So yeah, this is the end product. I'm really happy with it, and hopefully we will stick to our TBR in 2021. One can wish. Alright you guys, so these are all the books that I have for now added to my TBR card for 2021. Most of these are not really horror, some of them are, but because normally the books that I pick like randomly are horror books, and because the ones that I'm gonna order are probably gonna be in the horror genre, then I can always add them to my TBR pile to have more horror. But I really want to get to some of the books that I've had on my shelves for some time, or continue some series that I meant to continue in 2020 and it never happened. I just want to make progress, okay, with a lot of different things. And I'm hoping that this plan is going to help me. I also hope that this video maybe inspired you to find a way to mix up your TBRs next year. Let me know if you're doing anything special when it comes to planning your TBR cards or your TBR piles, or if you just wing it, if you're somebody that's really just a mood reader. Let's talk about it in the comments down below. Thanks so much for watching, you guys. Please give the video a big thumbs up for support, and if you want to follow me in social media, as always, the links are down below, and I hope to see you all in the next coffee time. Bye.